Hello everyone, welcome back to another Fallout 76 video. It's time for that long-promised guide on how to farm legendary bosses. Let me introduce you to it. Hey everyone, it has been a while since I have published a guide for legendary boss farming, and that's mostly because things have been a little bit blurry lately with the spawn rates. I feel like my old guides are a bit outdated, but after doing all the testing for this video, I realized that most of them are actually up to date. It's just that the spawn rates are quite low these days. I don't know if I'm just unlucky or if they have really reduced the spawn rates overall in the entire map. That's how I feel, at least. Maybe because there are more players farming than months ago. Maybe that's the reason, but I'm not entirely sure. Anyway, I have been spending the last 2-3 weeks testing 24 locations that I have included in this guide. I have tested many others that I decided to exclude because they didn't seem that reliable or positive to farm. Now, I want to tell you two more things. The first is that the criteria for this video was based on me testing, going to each single location from 10 to 20 times, and then I decided to divide the spawn rates in 3 different categories, which I will explain in the next section, which will be explaining the guide and the route itself. And the second thing is about my character's charisma and luck. I have 6 charisma and 11 luck. As you probably know, it's a never-ending discussion about charisma and luck affecting the spawn rates of legendaries, so there you go. You should know with what I'm working with in my character. Now, let me explain you the new legendary farming route that I have created for you. Well, what do we have here? I went over 3 main regions, the high-level ones, the Savage Divide, the Mire, and the Cranberry Bog, and I have featured 24 locations, as you can see in the map. At first sight, it might seem a little bit confusing, but it really isn't. So I have also divided the locations in 3 different categories, as I mentioned before. Red means it's a low spawn rate for legendaries. Yellow means there is a medium spawn rate, and green means that legendaries spawn quite often there, at least in my experience. Remember that this guide is solely based on my experience and what I could find during my testings. So if you don't find exactly what I'm showing you here, that's probably normal, especially because legendary spawn rates depend first on the server. There are good and bad servers, and when you end up in a bad server, you will probably check 20 locations there and you won't find a single legendary. It has happened to me before, where when you end up in a good server, you will find a legendary in almost every single location. It's really crazy. Also, luck can affect your spawn rates. If other players were farming the same spots before, then you probably won't find the legendaries. So there are many factors that could influence you finding or not finding legendaries in these same spots. Moving on, there is one more thing I want to tell you here. I have organized these locations from north to south to create a sort of a route in case you guys want to follow it up. So number 1 is at the very north of the map, and number 25 is at the very bottom in the south. So let's begin with the first one. I don't always farm my ammo in the converted munitions factory workshop, but when I do, I usually come across a legendary boss in the workshop, whether it is claimed or to claim. In this case, I was about to claim it. This was the last guy, and he was a 3 stars legendary. Yay me. So I can tell you that much, that this is a decent place to find legendaries and to farm ammo. But this is far from being a new place. Actually, I remember helping a few friends farming ammo months ago, and I do remember coming across legendary bosses in this place. So here is another example. As you could see, a 1-star low level, but it still counts. So there you go, we start at the very north and at the workshop. At the SUNNYTOP Sky Lanes, it's a pain in the ass. I really don't like this location. Many people suggest me to check it out, and I had real issues finding a legendary after a while. I have included this location in one of my past guides, and I know it can spawn a legendary, but it is not so easy. The spawn is really low, and normally it is from the random creatures that spawn in this area, like this wolf. It can also be bugs, or sometimes the scorched or the super mutants, but it's like a 50-50 chance. I have recently found out that here at Sons of DANE compound is another location for possible legendaries. How? Well, while doing the One Violent Night, the event, sometimes I come first to this place and I used to find a legendary, and I was wondering, okay, but the event just started, it cannot be from the event. So I investigated and I found out that yes, it does spawn a legendaries, it's just that the spawn rate is not so high. More news here at SYLVIE and Sons logging camp. It's my favorite location to farm wood, and I have recently found a few legendaries spawning here. They are usually no stars, just a regular legendary, but hey, if you actually come here to get your wood, you might as well get out with another legendary item to scrip or to use. Who knows? Another brand new entry is the CREVASSE dam. It's quite close to my new base location, and I have been exploring some locations around it, such as this one, and I have found out that this is a quite reliable location to find a legendary. It's not always, but it is quite often. That's why I have labeled as median spawn rate. Now, you might find one per run. It could be the down guide that I just showed you, or the boss in the very top, and it can spawn from no stars to 3 stars in my experience. DYER'S chemical was not initially part of the guide. I have just added it because the Reddit community suggested me to check it out. I have tested it and I can confirm that a legendary can spawn here. How often, I'm not so sure, but it took me 7 tries to find this legendary Assaultron. So I do believe it is a medium spawn rate, but if it's not, do let me know in the comment section below. The Autumn ACRE cabin is a somewhat special place. It is a long time location for legendaries, but the spawn is very low. However, when you find a legendary, it will most likely be a 3 stars. At least I haven't found any other type of legendaries in this location. I remember that in a previous guide it was also a 3 stars, and they are generally animals or ghouls, as you can see. And they often drop 3 stars legendary items too, which is pretty handy. The Wendigo cave is probably one of these locations that is there since the release date. It's a very popular one, but the spawn rate is rather low, at least nowadays. It was very popular for the 3 stars Mirlook King, but all I could find in here is legendary ghouls or scorched. I tried to find the Mirlook King as a legendary, but after 15 server jumps, I gave up. I could never find him as a legendary, so I cannot tell you if it still spawns here or not. But hey, if you try, at least you'll be able to farm the hell out of this Wendigo. One of my favorite places to farm legendaries is HAWKE'S Refuge because it spawns legendaries quite often and the cave is very small, which makes things quite easy to get on. So basically you only have to come inside, navigate to this main room and then head here because it's the last room really. And if you find a legendary, good for you. If not, you can just move along. I often find 3 stars legendaries as well, just for your information. I will show you another run so you can see a 3 stars legendary. And keep in mind that the Scorched or Ghoul that can be a legendary varies almost every time, so make sure to check the entire cave, including the room that I showed you in the last run. According to you, Harper's Ferry is a rich area for legendaries. Too bad for me that I didn't know until recently, and I have tested 2 different places in Harper's Ferry. The first one is here at the train station and then at the workshop, where you can normally find a legendary either at one location or the other, and it can range from no stars to 3 stars. Just make sure to check both of the locations and you should be good to go. Moving on to Harper's Ferry church grounds, there is a medium chance to find 1 to 2 legendary bosses with 0 to 3 stars. I usually find the first one here at the walls. If you have the key to enter through that gate, it's much easier, otherwise you have to go all the way around. And the second legendary is usually inside the church. Sometimes there is one outside as well, the walls near the turrets, so keep an eye on them. The Burrows. So this dungeon that came out with the Wild Appalachia DLC is not so popular among people. I'm not very sure why is that, because my personal experience with this place is pretty positive. I usually come here to either die or farm legendaries really, because one thing to know is that when you have a backpack with high capacity, you shouldn't come here. It shouldn't be doing this to yourself. The rats will kill you, 60 rats per hit from a ghoul. Anyway, getting back to the topic, I am showing you here this run where I got 3 legendaries with 3 stars, all of them. I was like, wow, this place is still rocking. I did this like 3 days ago, I think. So it is very recent and it's proof that the Burrows is still up there rocking and rolling. I want to show you yet another example. This is another run and I was able to find 2 legendaries with, again, 3 stars each. These are my best runs in the past month or so, but then again, I'm not always farming legendaries. So I do believe this place is just underrated. People don't really like it for some reason, maybe because it's quite difficult to navigate and kill all these ghouls. But hey, if you want to farm legendaries, I think this is a place that should be in the top of your list. The next location is probably going to surprise you. Why? Well, the National Isolated Radio Array is probably not your typical place to visit, but it really should, because it's a high spawn rate for legendary bosses. You can actually find 1 to 2 legendaries per run, and they can range from no stars to 3 stars. As you could see in this run, I found 2 guys with no stars at all, but hey, I don't complain. In the second run, I found 3 stars right at the top of the building, and they can drop a lot of nice stuff here because they are high level. Plus, you only need to clean this building. The others don't really spawn legendaries. I have tested them and nope, they do not drop anything in terms of legendaries, of course. And as you can clearly see, 3 stars in here are not so uncommon. So make sure to make this location a part of your top list. I really think you should. This wouldn't be a proper guide if I didn't include the old good Westech Research Center. This is the second most popular location to farm legendary bosses in the game, and it still works pretty well until date. However, recently I have been finding many runs with no star legendaries, like all the bosses are no stars. It's a bit strange, but hey, it still works, and you can find 1 to 5 legendaries per run, at least in my experience. Normally I never get just one, but it's difficult to say how many you can get per run. I think the max is 5, maybe it's more. Anyhow, 3 stars legendaries are certainly still a thing in Westech, so don't be sad if you are not getting the 2 or 3 stars that you wish for. It probably means you are being a little bit unlucky, or that you are in a bad server. In that case, just finish your run and get the hell out of the server, try a new one, maybe you will have a better luck. As you can see in this run, I got 4 legendaries and all of them were freaking no stars. All of them. How does that work? I'm not so sure, but I have tons of runs like this, and as soon as I finish the run, I get the hell out of the server. I mean, a legendary is still a legendary, but I would much rather get something better, like a 2 stars or a 3 stars. In this run, I will show you that 3 stars are not a myth. So first I got a 1 star, and then I found these 3 stars, and later on, almost at the end of the run, I managed to find yet another 3 stars. Which made me really happy, because I thought I would find another no stars. But I got lucky. 2 3 stars in a single run in Westech. It's pretty good these days. It used to be better, but it is what we have now. I used to really dislike Huntersville before, but now it has become one of my favorite farming places, because number 1, it is very easy to clean this place. There are not that many super mutants around, and second, you can often find 1 to 2 legendaries at once, and it's not uncommon to find a 3 stars in this place as well. In the second run, you can see that it's totally possible to find 2 legendary bosses in one single run, even though it's very short, and the super mutants are like 10 in total, I think, maybe a little bit more. Anyway, you can usually find the only legendary here right in this building at the very top. In this case, it was a 3 stars, but just 1 star item. Bad, bad, bad. Heading to the middle of the Savage Divide, we have safe and clean disposal, and this tiny shack can sometimes spawn a legendary boss. The good thing about this place is that it's very close to White Spring, and you only have to kill 4 enemies or check them out. If there's no legendary, you can just move along or save a jump. It's very easy. Now we have a White Spring Golf Club and all the resort houses. Now guys, I know this is the best place in game to farm legendaries. It's amazing. You can find like 15 legendaries per run, and some of them are actually high level, some are, not so high level, but it's still good for Scrip. But there is a big but. This is the most populated area in game. There are usually people here, and by people I mean 2, 3, 4, sometimes more. And it's rare to find the spawn active. Usually it's on cooldown, or there's only a few mobs left, or you start doing your run and someone else comes by and starts doing it in the middle to steal your stuff. Normally people don't ask to team up either, because there's that option, so everyone can get the legendaries. People are very, selfish in that regard. At least when I come here, it's like they already have a team, or they don't want to accept my invite. It's a pain in the ass. I really dislike White Spring, not because it's not good in terms of spawns, it is the best, but because basically everyone knows about it, and everyone who wants to farm legendaries comes here. And it is not a pretty scenario when you want to farm and people are stealing your stuff, wasting your time, and it's like, okay, why should I come here again? In my opinion, you shouldn't. Unless it's empty and the spawn is up, even then it can happen to you what happened to me. I was in the middle of my run and suddenly I was going to the next group of houses and I realized that it was kind of empty. I heard shootings. I looked at the map and there was a guy killing everything in front of me. So he came here, he saw I was doing the road and he went ahead of me to kill whatever was left, including the middle part of White Spring. And one more time, I got reassured that White Spring is just not for me. I have so many other places I can go to farm legendaries. Why would I bother to deal with something like this? Moving south at the General Steakhouse, this is a medium spawn rate, at least for me, and I often find one legendary boss in the roof. Sometimes he's inside, but most of the times he's right here at the roof, and it can be a no star to 3 stars, like this beauty that dropped a decent weapon, let's say. And again, the roof guy, but this is a different one. Still, they kind of drop a lot of melee weapons for me here for some reason, but that's fine. The Scrip machine doesn't discriminate. The ROBCO Research Center is also a very old location to farm legendaries. I even included it in one of my old guides. But it's not outdated, you can still find legendaries inside. I tested it yesterday and look, there's a Colonel Gutsy, 3 stars. I also saw that Reddit people confirmed this location is still very active for legendaries and that you can often find 3 stars, so there you go. Next we have a location that is not so typical. At the Superior Sunset Farm, there is this little shack to the east, to the southeast, and it's like a random event, it kinda is, and you can sometimes find a legendary here. In this case, it was a super mutant and a 3 stars. We were very lucky, and yeah, this is just an extra information. If you pass by, you might want to check it out. A little bit more to the south, we have the WATOGA Emergency Services, which is also a very old location to farm legendaries. You can find up to 1 per run. This is also a very small place. He is usually in the first floor, either in one of these rooms or at the end where I was near the fridge. It can be from 0 stars to 3 stars, and this is a medium spawn rate location. At the flooded Trainyard, you can usually find a legendary boss near the tower at the train station. You just have to keep going forward from the spawn point, and it can be from no stars to 3 stars. I usually find them as a no stars, and this is a very versatile place. You can find almost anything in this location, from bugs to rats, super mutants, ghouls. I don't know, think about something, you will probably be able to find it here. I know some people who usually find legendaries here, but that's not really my case. That's why I labeled it as a medium spawn rate location. If you move to the west at the NAR Repair Center, this is also a decent location to farm legendaries. I usually find a 1-star sheepsquatch around here for some reason, but some other people told me that they can find a 3 stars super mutant or a gulper around. And I had the experience to find a gulper one time, which is kind of confirming what people told me. This is possibly the best spot to farm legendaries in the WATOGA or in the Cranberry Bog region, but maybe I'm wrong. Well, hopefully not, but do let me know in the comment section below. I have one last location for you, which is around the lost home in the Cranberry Bog, and this is one of the random event spots for the region. I usually find a 1-star cheap squatch in here, but you can find many other things as, for example, ghouls, scorch, super mutants, or even animals like crickets. You should just check the forest area a little bit to the north of this area where I find this sheep squatch. But other than that, it's very, very random. That's the new legendary farming route that I have for you guys. I hope you have enjoyed it, and I hope even more that the guide will be useful to you in your adventures and attempts to farm legendary bosses. I'm Marta Branco, thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you think about all these locations and route I have made in the comment section below. I love to read your guys' opinions, and I always try my best to answer everyone. I will see you very soon in the next video. If you are new to the channel and you enjoy the content, then don't forget to click in the subscribe button to help me grow. Also, I have a Patreon page if you would like to support me even further. Thank you again, and I will see you very soon. Take care. Adeus. Bye bye.